Firstly, can you elaborate or tell us a bit more about your visit to Namibia?
Um, as a start, I am an American author of 153 books, and I provided more than 120 different new theories and visions of the future, not just in one country, in one continent, but in all continents. For this reason, I'm on a global tour, and Namibia is part of that package that I'm doing to understand reality on the ground, not just by reading a book in the library and all that, but to go there and live with people, talk to people, understand the culture, the society, and all that. And that's very important to do any research globally nowadays.
Now, what do you specifically specialize in?
I don't have a specialty because I'm a polymath, and that's why I have written more than 153 books on all topics in all fields of knowledge, and I have provided more than 120 different visions and new theories of the future in relation to the mind, nature, society, and culture comprehensively in all fields of knowledge, and I have also provided three unified theories of everything, no specialty. There are a lot of different things about Namibia. There are a lot of different issues. There are a lot of things that I see which are good and which are bad, but that's true in any country. There are always some good things and bad things. And there are several issues which are of great concern to many people. Even the president of Namibia has been talking about that, like corruption, some of the concern with China and all that. So is that this is some of the issues that local people become more and more concerned. Normally, I don't like to focus on the bad only because that is not fair.
Yes.
That is not balanced. I'm not a politician. I'm a scholar. I'm a thinker. I'm a visionary. To be a good visionary, you have to look into the future. And you have to see good and bad. If you only look at one thing, then your vision is going to be very biased. And a lot of people in history, they call themselves visionaries, but their vision is very, very biased. Karl Marx talked about class struggle. Look at everything from the standpoint of class struggle, class struggle, class struggle. That is extremely biased. Adam Smith, on the other hand, look at everything from the standpoint of competition, competition, competition. That's also extremely biased. Sigmund Freud talked about sexuality and analyze everything from the standpoint of psychoanalysis. That's also extremely biased. I'm not like that. I look into issue, from all perspectives, from all sides. So in the case of Namibia, there are good things and bad things. Some of the examples of the good things is that I do think that Namibia is quite rich in many ways. The resources, minerals, diamonds, and all that is quite obvious. And also the Namibian people are also very hospitable, very warm and friendly. Now, I'm not saying that they are perfectly nice such that they are like paradise. No, you have criminals here too, just like any other country. They have people, they murder, they kill, they steal, they rob, they trick you. Yeah, but I'm talking about from a relative perspective. If you go to some other countries, let's say in Germany and Japan, and you see more racism there against Africans, for example. By contrast, when they come here in Namibia, they have received a much better hospitality from Africans. So that is something good about Africa in many ways. In a way, that's an important thing for spirituality. And in my book, I talk about the emergence in the future of post-democracy and post-capitalism. One of the major dimensions that I mentioned is that in the future, spirituality too will become a major component of any civilization. It's not so greedy in terms of money, 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 money all the time in capitalism. So don't think that it's just a cliche, but I think that's a major plus about Namibia and also about Africa in general. Now, the bad thing, I just mentioned two of them already. Corruption is a major problem here. I can understand that. And some of the things that people can be quite laid back and not very efficient. In Africa, in Namibia too, a lot of people make promises and promises, but the promises, many of them are just empty. They often do not do what they promise. It's not just among the politicians, it's true in business, in everyday life. So it affects the entire society. Don't blame the politician for that. This is just a very pervasive problem. But the other side of that is that it's not necessarily bad either. It's also very good to have a laid-back, stress-free society, and that's why in Namibia and Africa, people may be poor, but they are quite happy in many ways. They don't have they are not so stressed as people that you may see in America. People do not know that when I say that people in America are very stressed, the way of life. They look at me and say, are you crazy? And I say, just go there and see it. And that's why drug trafficking in America, the drug market in America is the largest in the world. Why do people take so many drugs? Because it's very stressed. I have been in more than 100 countries right now, and I have been about 20 different African countries already. And I was in North Africa, Eastern Africa, Central Africa, Western Africa, and Southern Africa. That means that I have been in all parts of Africa. There are some good things about Namibia, a southern part of Africa, in that sense. Some good example is what I just mentioned, but I can just say it in a different way. It's very interesting for you to know that of many of the countries that I have been in, Namibia is one of them. Why Namibia, you may wonder? How come I do not go to Congo? How come I do not go to South Sudan? How come I do not go to Mali right now? Well, the reason is because it's very unsafe. It's a civil war or insecurity, militia, fighting, or corruption. So by comparison, things are not so bad over here. So that's one thing. Security is very important. So it stands out, Namibia. Namibia is not a paradise. It's not like a very safe country. But on the other hand, relatively speaking, by comparison with some other African countries, I think it is quite good. The infrastructure, by the way, in Namibia is much better than some of the African countries that I have been in. So I'm not saying that this is like Germany or Japan or China. No, we are not comparing that. We are comparing in comparison with some other developing African countries. This is and the corruption here, yes, that's bad. But again, the police here, are they corrupt? Yes, but they are not as corrupt as the police, let's say, in Mozambique. The police is amazingly corrupt. So yeah, there are a lot of good things about that. There are some bad things, as I said too. So it stands out in a certain way, but there are some other problems too. But we can talk more about this. Let me point out very quickly, because this is a politically correct topic. Many people are supposed to say something like corruption is bad. Now, I'm a thinker and a visionary. I don't talk like this. I want to stress very clearly so that there's no misunderstanding. Corruption is not necessarily bad. Corruption can be very good for society too. Just like everything, just like discrimination. Discrimination is bad, right? Bad in a way, but discrimination is very important for life.
Why do you say that?
For example, it depends on how corrupt you are and what kind of corruption that you have. If I have, let's say, this is just a hypothetical situation. Let's say that if I had a mother, and my mother needs a job, and I have a company, I want to hire someone to work as a secretary, and you come, you submit your resume. I look at my resume and say, well, you are good too, by the way. I would like to hire you. And my mom said, hey, I need to have a job. I cannot find a job. Now, suppose I give that job to my mother. She's not that bad, but maybe she doesn't have the education that you have, or qualification. Now, is that necessarily bad? Bad in a way to you. Why? Because I did not hire you, I hired her. But on the other hand, for my family, for my value system, for my rationality, for my morality, I'm amazingly proud of what I did for my mother. You come across and say, that is wonderful to me, proud of it. Do that again. I should do that again. Now, does that bother me? No. Now, the bad thing.
Corruption.
So it's just like everything in life. You have the negative, you have the positive. I see a lot of things in Africa which can be called corrupt, but on the other hand, it's also very good for them. It's not necessarily a bad thing, and that's why to say I fight for corruption, that is what politicians like to say in public. They are politicians. They are supposed to say what you want to hear, but many of them are not doing that. In fact, they are doing the same thing all over again. I speak to some people here, I'm not going to mention who they are, and they told me that all these politicians, they keep talking about fighting corruption, but in the end, they're not doing anything. Now, I'm not going to mention who they are, that can put them into danger, but I'm just saying that don't be misled by this discourse. We have to look into exactly what it is, under what condition, in what context. So it's not necessarily bad for the country. It can be a good thing for the country. It depends on your rationality. That's a key word over here. Different cultures, different groups, different tribes have different rationality. As I always say, in economics, everything has a cost and a benefit. You have to balance that. You cannot have anyone to do anything for you without a cost. By the way, we are sitting here right now. The chair that I'm sitting on, this costs something to buy this chair. And even if you have this chair, it's not free. Even if someone gives this to you as free, as a gift, that person has to pay for it. If that person doesn't pay for it, someone else has to pay for it to give this chair to you. You go to a supermarket, you buy something, you take something. You have to pay for it. It can be expensive, it can be cheaper, that's okay. The point is there's a cost and its benefit. The same thing about investment from another countries. When China comes here, they invest, they pay you money, and they get the resources. I heard nowadays some people say let's plunder the resources of Africa. I think this is rhetorical. Remember, in economics, there's always those who are the pros, those who are the cons. Those who don't like it will shout and yell and make all this kind of jargons and accuse you with all this kind of rhetoric. There's fear-mongering and all that. Those who are for that will glorify that and say, oh, it's so wonderful, it's a paradise and all that. As a thinker, as a visionary, I don't side with any of them. I always look into cost and benefits. By cost and benefits, I don't mean money, by the way, just in case you think that. I use it only as a metaphor. As a metaphor, advantages and disadvantages about life, the negative and the positive. The same about Chinese investment here in Africa. There are a lot of good things that they have done, but there are also costs. Now, the most important point, as I always said in any interview, is that what is your alternative? I can think only of 2 or 3 major alternatives for Africa to consider seriously. The first alternative is you kick out the Chinese. Do not allow China anymore to trade with you, to invest in your country, and then you will see how it's going to affect your economy. Blacks, Africans are not as irrational or stupid as people may think. They know what they are doing. And the fact that many African countries nowadays are inviting the Chinese to come because it benefits them. People are not so irrational as you might think they are. We often underestimate people in underdeveloped countries that they invite so-and-so and come. That's because it benefits them for them. They need all those investments. The same thing in America. In the 1980s, for example, there was an anti-Japanese sentiment in America saying that the Japanese, they came in, they plundered the resources because of competition. The American car manufacturing was losing to the Japanese, and people burned the Japanese car and said that buy in America, and they are so and so and so. Think about this. There's a certain resentment when people are doing much better. But the Japanese car at that time, in many cases, they are cheaper and they are much better than the American cars. That's why many Americans started to buy Japanese cars, not even American cars. Now you have some of the resentment among some people. Now they talk about China. My prediction that sooner or later in the future they will talk about India too. They maybe talk about Mexico or some other countries. This is endless. It's very natural in life. There are people who are the pros, they are the cons. But my advice to you is that think in terms of cost-benefit analysis. If the costs are more than the benefit, then don't do it. If the benefits are more than the cost, then do it now. Our cost benefits are not about money. It's about as a metaphor. The second option for you to do is do that yourself. If you are tired of people coming in and do the investment for you, why do you not do this yourself? Look at the Chinese. They make everything. They manufacture everything. Everything now is made in China. How come you cannot do it? Now, you are trying to blame the Chinese for your own problem, but how do you do not manufacture yourself? Produce things yourself. Then you stop saying that. And then, by the way, if you produce everything yourself and you sell them, other people will say that you, the Africans, are colonizing them. Now, there's another problem again. See then, now what's the third solution is that invite the former colonial powers back in. Invite the German, the Italian, the French, the British, the American, whoever that you care like, and ask them to come back here. And then to do all this for you. And then and see if you are happier that way. So I have 3 realistic solutions. Number 1, kick them out, and then you will see what is going to happen to you. Number 2, do it yourself. Stop blaming other people. Make things yourself. Manufacture things yourself. Don't have any import anymore. Fine. Number 3, invite the former colonial powers back in because you have no other options nowadays. So do that.
And then see how you survive.
And then see how you survive. And this is how you feel better. Then the conversation is, otherwise it's just emotional. I am you, you are this is just fear mongering. Yeah. Well, you're not thinking about solution. Just as an analogy, because you are a woman, I mentioned that too. Just something about the feminists. They blame a lot of problems that they have on men. Men also have a lot of problems too, by the way. But we don't blame our problems and say, we have this problem, man problem because of women. We don't do that. We try to solve the problem. In many cases, we did not solve the problem. Many of the problem by men, they are still going on. But we don't point the fingers because of women. They are bad, they are matriarchal, they are sexist or something like that. But feminists blame everything on men. There's something about black in America. They blame everything on white. So I'm saying that, yeah, there's some truth to that, but I'm saying stop blaming. Find a solution. This is the 3 alternative solution. And by the way, just in case you do not know, China also offers a lot of aid to Africa too. And that's also very important. And many of the debts that Africa has, China offers debt cancellation because many of the African countries often come back and say, we cannot pay, can you cancel that? Zimbabwe is a good example. Zimbabwe has asked China many times to cancel the debt, and China did. Can you say thank you to that? And if you're not happy about that, why do you not just invest in China and help the Chinese? There are a lot of poor people in China. Why do you not help them? And they come and help you, and you say that you are complaining. Okay, why do you just go to China and help the Chinese people? And you don't help any of them, and then you are complaining they want to come here and help you.